First of all, I just want to thank Steve and all of the team here at CoKids for hosting us. I especially want to thank the young children here at CoKids, so I have to say I'm much better behaved than Labor MPs on the Finance and Expenditure Committee this morning. We're here to announce a new initiative to make early childhood education fairer, more affordable and more flexible for parents. Over the last 20 or 30 years, successive governments have built up more and more details and complications in the way that early childhood education is funded. It's now $3.1 billion of taxpayer money each year and an estimated similar amount from parents. It's a major challenge for many households to afford childcare, and that's why we believe it's time to take a fresh look at the way that early childhood education is funded. There will be no reduction in funding as a result of this review. However, we will be looking at some of the complexities of the law. For example, funding a maximum of 6 hours per day when some parents have longer days than 6 hours, funding 5 days a week when some parents don't work that many days but work longer days at other times. We'll be looking at some of the complications around the age and the hours that students attend and the different buckets of money that are available for centres. We hope that by the end of this we will have a simpler, fairer, more affordable system for funding early childhood education. I should add that this is separate from the regulatory review where we've looked at the rules for operating an early childhood centre and we've changed a lot of those around. This is simply about the amount of money transferred from the government to early childhood centres, not the rules for operating them. The final thing I must talk about, the wonderful panel. Sometimes it's very difficult to get a task force to review policy here in Wellington. People are sometimes very busy or nervous about entering a public role, but I'm really proud to introduce Linda Mead. Linda is a co-owner of an early childhood centre and also a former partner at Deloitte, so she has an absolutely top level business and economics background as well as a practical experience of getting her hands dirty running an early childhood centre. We couldn't dream of a better chair for this particular review, and we also have people both from different types of early childhood centres, from large childhood centre chains, from kindergartens, from the economics profession. These people will bring a range of skills to making sure that we get a fairer, more affordable, more flexible deal for parents when it comes to early childhood education. I'm just going to let Linda make a few comments and then I'll come back in case there's any questions. So, thank you. Linda.
Kia ora, Linda.
Kia ora.
Oh, tell us a bit about this review.
Well, I've got a few, I'm going to keep this fairly brief.
Okay.
I've got a few notes here just so I kind of, prepared myself. So I think it's important to start with saying that the ECE sector, and I mean that in the broadest sense, has been asking for a funding review for a long time. So the reality, as Minister has said, is that we have a funding system right now that I would say is past its use-by date. It's incredibly complex. And it has grown over the decades through layers and layers of incremental change. And I'm sure at the point in time when those changes were brought in, they were appropriate to meet specific policy objectives. But the result today is a funding system that's not really coherent, and neither is it, I would suggest, transparent or fair. So we do as a country need a funding system that delivers affordable ECE services, that funds quality education and care, that meets the needs of families and employers, companies and others, and ensures that the services themselves can actually remain financially viable. I agreed to take on this role as chair because I do fundamentally believe that high quality early learning isn't just a nice to have, and I actually believe it's the cornerstone of educational success, the under 5, social equity actually in the long run, and economic productivity. But that promise only holds true if the system is fit for purpose, and the terms of reference for this ministerial advisory group requires us to step back and ask what kind of ECE funding system do we as a country need for the future. So it's a very broad mandate that we have, which is great and really essential in my view. It has to be one that works for the children, for for whānau, for teachers and educators, and for communities right across the country. So that is not an easy task, and it will involve lots of hard conversations and difficult trade-offs along the way. Funding is always a contested space, as we all know, and we'll be navigating diverse perspectives. Some people have quite entrenched positions, I'm sure, and some very real constraints. But with all that having been said, I really look forward to meeting the challenge and with the other members of the group, providing advice to ministers in the months ahead. That was all I wanted to say.
Thank you very much, Linda.
Minister, there's already been obviously a bit of criticism. The document says that some people say the document will fuel fears that regulations protecting the number of qualified teachers and their pay are under threat. What's your response to that?
Well, first of all, we run these centres for the children. When people start their line of questioning with the adults in the centre, I say, no, taiho. This is about the children, the rangatahi in the centre rather than the adults. The second thing is, you're never going to get a successful centre if you don't have good people and you have to pay them and you have to pay them fairly. Does that mean we need the exact structure that we have today? Maybe, maybe not. That's up to the committee.
Right. And can you tell me why kohanga reo and puna reo weren't part of this review?
So kohanga reo is not included because they've just had quite substantial change, and the advice that we got was that rather than having them go through a whole lot of change in their funding and then have a new set of changes, they'd rather be not included in this. Puna reo, on the other hand, actually are included in the review, so I may have misspoke just off camera there, but I've just checked with our officials and puna reo will be included.
Hey, sorry, I'm going to do a cheeky question. The Treaty Negotiations Minister says it's unlikely that all iwi are going to settle. As you being part of Ngāti Rihia and Ngāpuhi, do you think Ngāpuhi will settle in our lifetime?
People have underestimated Ngāti Rihia and the whole of Ngāpuhi for hundreds of years, and if they think that we can't settle, they might be surprised. There is an enormous opportunity for our people to have a settlement, to start seeing the growth and economic opportunity and culture that other hapu up and down the country have had. I was meeting recently with some representatives of Ngāti Whātua o Ōrākei, and I look at what they've been able to do in the last 30 years, and I think we could actually do better.
Cool. Kia ora, Minister. Thank you.
Kia ora.